All right, says we are live. Welcome to episode 259 of the Canadian Prepper Podcast, recorded January 19th, 2025. My name is Ian. I am the professional chicken wrangler, mediocre homesteader, casual podcaster, and thanks to a battlefield promotion tonight, Eric has left me in charge. Chaos shall ensue.
What a fool. And I'm Jeff. I'm based in Central Ontario. I'm a target shooter, ham radio operator, general overall handyman, and the weather nerd.
My name is Pierre. I'm a tactical beard owner, based t-shirt merchant. I finally fit in my big boy pants, a government critique, and the reason we hit the exclusive button.
At least once. Hey everybody, I am Pat in a bunker, farmer, rancher, shooting enthusiast, ATC collector, not air traffic control. I did the three-wheelers, the trikes, and all-around outdoorsman, and the official Canadian Prepper podcast, Token American.
I did learn what an ATC was last week. It was really impressive.
You can teach an old dog new tricks. Nice.
True.
Yes, you can. You can.
If you want to help to support the show, please buy some swag. We have both the Canadian Prepper Podcast t-shirt and the Tactical Velcro patch at www.prepperpodcast.ca. All of the proceeds help cover our costs.
Well, if you're enjoying the show, please take a few minutes and submit a review wherever you found us. We want feedback, even if it's bad. And we also invite you to reach out and tell us about something you learned this week. You can email us at feedback@prepperpodcast.ca. All right, guys, so we're going to start off with some relevant news, update you on our personal preps. Then we'll get to the main topic, which is storage longevity tonight. So, besides me, anybody got any news?
Yeah, tomorrow is Orange Day in the U.S. For those of you who don't know what I mean, figure it out.
All right.
Yes, since I am the official token American on here, that is our president's inauguration day. So even though he's already been officially sworn in because of the holiday and everything, it's just pomp and circumstance on Monday. So there you go.
And the village people were performing tonight at a rally, I guess, for that celebration, which was kind of awesome. It's like I'm surprised most of those guys are still alive, honestly. But
yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. So the big change down south for sure. I wish we could say we had a change out happening soon, but we don't.
Yeah.
So
Good luck.
that's for tomorrow's podcast. Anyway, for myself, I just thought it was kind of funny more than anything else that Vancouver issued an extreme cold weather advisory because it's going to be -2 tonight, which is 28 degrees for you, Pat. It's
chilly.
Well, yeah, but not
Like,
extreme cold
no.
weather. Like, come on now. Like, I just
Huh.
laugh at the hippies. I guess they have to, take off their Birkenstocks and put on a toque or something. I don't know. Like, I just laugh. I was like, I can't believe this is newsworthy. But
Yeah. I'm already
Yeah.
well below that right now.
well, yeah, I mean,
Same.
well, most of the continent is, but I just laugh. It's just like, oh god, you guys have it way too easy if you're putting out a cold weather advisory and it's -2. But anyway, more importantly, it's going to affect all of us as preppers. In Canada, for at least, large rifle primers are available. They used to be like, unobtainium type of thing for the last 4 years.
Yeah.
And
Very hard.
yeah, with the sea change in politics and supply and demand kind of teetering off, I guess, with all the people not panic buying and stuff, it's actually almost back down to normal prices. So I just put a link
Yeah.
in for Gobles, and there's tons of retailers in Canada that seem to be carrying them, but yeah, they're back down to almost what they used to be. So that's pretty good.
Yeah, it's nice to see the stuff coming
Finally,
back. Hopefully
yeah.
we can get a few more things. I still got a few more supplies. I want to start making some more ammo. I gotta stock up on some stuff, so it's nice to see supplies coming back.
Well, yeah, especially if like most of the hunting rifles and or target rifles and anything else, they all require large primers. Very rarely can you get like 6.5 Creedmoor and small primers and stuff, but it's not often anyway. So
I have about 600 of those.
yeah, no,
The 600 rounds. So yeah, but yeah, you're very limited on small rifle.
yeah. Okay, well, what we've done lately for preps, Pierre?
Not much. Had a busy week. I played IT guy at work, so that was fun. Set up video conference, testing out mics, all that stuff. TV hooking, casting, all that stuff. So played IT for a day. Would not recommend. It wasn't enjoyable for me. food rotation. We had some people over tonight, so we took some stock out of the freezer that we haven't for a little bit. Cook some, send some home with some people. Time to replenish. A little bit of gas rotation, and that's about it. We kind of did the at-home hermit thing this week, so not too much more than that.
Cool, Jeff.
I really have not done next to nothing this week. It's just kind of been running around doing all kinds of other things for other people and nothing for me. So
That's fair. Pat.
Well, right before the real Arctic blast swung in, got my shop reloaded with wood, cut a bunch of wood for that shop just to have a little extra on hand, and always usually do that in between downtimes and stuff, just either for the house or the shop. Other than that, just kind of going through preps, ordering just some little stuff here and there, nothing big. Just more worried about just staying warm, keeping the cattle well fed, and prepping all my machinery just to make sure that I don't have any problems on that front. So other than that, that's all I got.
You said you run another podcast tonight. Is there anybody you want to give a shout out to or anything? Or
Yeah, the Crazy Scotsman is on right before this. Literally, they end right at about 8 o'clock. So if you guys are looking for a different type of podcast with kind of like-minded people here, but a little bit on the different side, that's the Crazy Scotsman, Foreign and Domestic. So starting at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time.
he's got his own channel on YouTube here.
Yes, he does. He's a shooter. He's kind of an outdoors guy, just kind of like I am. So he's good people. Always a good time over there. So
Right on. As for myself, been de-rusting some new purchases there, trying my hand at electrolysis there for the first time, which was kind of neat. And so, yeah, for the sake of a couple little tidbits and tools around the shop here, you can get rid of rust the easy way, I guess, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
Couple minor things for myself too. Did a change to the fuel line on my big generator. So I put a T intersection in the generator fuel line. The bottom T, of course, going out the bottom of the little shutoff valve. So instead of having to take off the tank or the fuel line or whatever, and then manually empty it out every time the fuel gets old and skanky, I put this basically a fuel sump at the lowest point in the line, and so I just got to turn on the shutoff, and I can drain the entire system much more easily and with a little more time efficiency in mind. Just
Nice.
to help out with the keeping the generator fuel fresh. That way, I can just like throw a 5 gallon of good stuff in there, and then completely empty out and throw another 5 gallons, and I don't have to worry about how old the gas is getting in there and gumming up everything, carburetor and all that other stuff. Yeah, so I've just been repainting the house to try and keep everything down, whether it be rot, moisture, whatever. Took a page from I think it was Pat mentioning last week or whatever, but it was linseed oiling up some tools there that were basically falling apart because of the moisture out here and use and everything else. Yeah, I was inspecting some sweets and some stuff in the pantry there, and of course that prompted this episode because we discovered some pests and stuff. So we'll get back to that in a second. But CGN deals, of course, naturally. Let's see here. Mostly for loading bits, though. A couple spare parts on the stuff. And I got one more project gun on the way. So that's kind of cool. It's basically, I think I found the cheapest Mauser in existence right now at $257, I think, right now. And gonna try and fix it up because it's complete trash, but that's part of the fun. So anyway, that's about it. Main topic, guys.
fire
Main
away.
topic.
yeah, fire away.
All
Let's
right.
roll.
Heat, moisture, and light. That's our main topic today. Basically, is trying to preserve our preps against stuff that's going to destroy them. Basically, so we were laughing. I was trying to come up with some catchphrases for tonight, and we came up with ChatGPT came up with like poetry from Yeats saying things fall apart, the center cannot hold, and all this stuff. So I guess it's been an ongoing problem for lots of people over time. But yeah, no, it was it's an ongoing problem with every prepper. I think is that every time you spend money on something, which is your after-tax cash, and it's your hard-earned money, and then also to discover that whatever you bought has fallen apart, broken, rusted in your absence or whatever, just by not paying attention to it for a while. It's kind of a pain in the tuchus. So anyway, Thought we'd talk about that. So you guys got any food preservation stories that went sideways or discovered any problems with it?
Yeah, actually, I'll kind of kick it off, and I'll add another thing to the preservation list. You said light, moisture, and what was the other one?
Heat.
Heat.
And heat. Well, I'm going to throw another one in there. Pests.
Yeah, I was going to
Pests.
mention that further
Pests.
down. Yeah.
You rang the bell on that, and I was like, "Yep, I'm kicking off with that right there."
Yeah.
As far as pests go, I got two ways on this. My shop that I have where I keep my cattle cubes, my extra seed corn that's left over, just stuff like that. Alfalfa seed, just stuff that I've got in this big shop. One thing that I always have to fight, is rats and mice, because when it's hot out, they don't want to bother with it. But man, when it gets cold, it's like Tim, Bob, and all their freaking cousins coming in that damn place. And
Yep.
I would like to think it's fairly sealed up, but there's still spots. If they can get their tiny little head through a hole, by God, they're getting through it. So
Yeah, it
um,
does not take much.
either. Yeah, because I think it only has to be the size of like a dime or something like that for mice to get in, but I don't know about
yeah, it's pretty damn small. It's even smaller on a mouse. Yeah, it's pretty dang small.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible.
Yeah,
Well,
it's yeah. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, you got to
And
heat
once,
it barn.
once they're in, they do a ton of damage. Like they'll just go through
Yeah.
everything. Like
Yeah.
not like eat it all, but they'll bust the bag open and then they're like, oh, I don't like that one. So they'll go to the next bag and they'll bust that
Yeah.
one open. And then they'll just keep going. And of course, once the bag's open, it's lost. So
Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
You got a
Exactly.
heated barn and unlimited food. I mean, why not come in there if you're a rat, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Makes sense.
yeah. I would.
Well, yeah. As just, I mean, like, for the sake of a multiple in your case, multiple bait stations and traps and stuff. I mean, like the cost for the bait stations is probably nothing compared to the actual losses you take for the actual food, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I've tried to plug up all the holes and everything that I can find, but they're great big slam together shop doors, so you can't completely seal them all the way, so they're getting in through there. But at the end of the day, I'm throwing out glue traps in certain spots where I know they come in where they could possibly get in. I'm throwing out just the plain old good old fashioned snap traps. I've got I have to be kind of careful because I do have a couple shop cats, and I do have some poison out in strategic places where the cats can't get to it, but is kind of hidden. So as long as I keep that in check, but yeah, and the same goes for food. I mean, whether it's down in your basement or your pantry, especially if it's on a older house, may not be anything wrong with the house, but there's places where those dang things can get in at, and once they start coming in, it's hard to get them stopped. I mean, you got to take out their family, you got to take out their extended family, you got to take out. It's like the mafia. You just one guy rats, you got to kill them all. You just got to get rid of them all. Scene from Goodfellas.
Well, and the funny thing is too is that, like, I mean, it's one thing to have invasive pests, but now of course if you buy like pulses, beans, flours, cereal, whatever, some of them come with weevil eggs in them. So you might have a totally airtight house type of thing, no pests getting in from the outside. But also you import them yourself, and then they just kind of hatch out after a few months or whatever, and before you know it, like all your flour and everything has a bunch of little bugs running through it. So
I've seen pictures of that, and it's like it was a sealed bag. The person that posted it was a sealed bag, and they set it down in their
it's nasty
cool room or whatever, and they went back like 4 months later and held it up, and it was just full of little black spots of bugs and stuff. And I'm like, what? Like,
well, the worst part, not just the bugs, it's all the crap, of course. So it's like one thing if you can sift out the bugs, but you can still get all their crap in there too, which isn't.
Right, and that happened over a certain amount of time. So you think about it, if you had brought that in the house, and let's say you go through flour in a month, and it takes 2 months for this to happen, like how much of that did you ingest?
Yeah. Well,
Right.
That's even crazier to think, right? Like,
so I found out that if you actually take if you buy a bag of flour from Costco or whatever, and
Yeah.
you put it in the freezer for 3 weeks, technically the
Mhm.
weevil eggs will not hatch.
yes.
So
Yep.
that's one thing to kind of preserve if you do buy like multiple flour bags and everything else. One way to kind of make sure it's a little bit pest proof.
Do the same with
Um,
rice.
yeah,
Do the
and
same with-
so
yeah.
the other thing
Is
that will
there
kill them.
is there like I seen there's in the show notes that's why they sift flour. Can you sift to get rid of those eggs or not? Like
No,
it
no.
just
So back in the
No.
day, I found
it
out
just
from
sounds to me like I didn't realize that they were already in the flour and it's like bleh.
no. So what happens is I guess back in the day, I found out I was doing some internet searching today. Is that I guess back in the day, people would sift flour not just to get fluffy flour, but actually like get the bugs out and just toss them to the chickens, and then to keep using the flour. And so like now we sift flour to make it all nice and presentable and stuff. But there was actually a real purpose back in the day was to get all the pests out, which was like oh,
Yeah.
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 because they
Yeah.
didn't realize the problem with poop, right, or anything else. But
Well, at that point in time, I mean, if it's baked and cooked and everything,
they
it's
didn't
probably
care.
not going to hurt you or anything. But still,
Oh.
you just know that it's in there, and it's just like, nah. Somebody pooped in my food.
Yeah, no, exactly. And the other way to get rid of the weevils too is like if you deprive them of oxygen. So whether you put
Yep.
like a hand warmer in a sealed container and put your flour in there like beforehand, I mean before they hatch out or at least get bad or whatever. If you have an infestation or whatever, you can at least somehow kill them off en masse like that by taking away the oxygen with some either O2 absorbers or foot warmers, whatever. And
Yeah.
the oxygen anyway.
Yeah, and just to springboard off kind of what you said right there with the throwing the flour and stuff in your freezer. I do that, and then on top of that, I've got the usually you can find the old army cans, not the 50 cal, but like some of those ones that held mortars and stuff, where you can just lay the whole bag down in there. As long as it's got a good rubber seal on it, I seal all that, my spices, my flour, anything that's dry like that is instantly put into great big ammo cans and just sealed away. And I have not had any problems with that.
And also, even if you don't have a rubber seal, depending how good you are with a caulking gun, you can make your own seal.
Oh yeah.
Right? You can put a small bead on there, right thickness, smooth it out, let it dry properly, and then you can make your own seals. You can do that with Rubbermaids. You can do that with anything. Really, it takes a little bit of finesse work, way more than I can. So I'll just buy the stuff with the seals. But might be something that if you've got those and you can't find seals or whatever, you could probably make your own seals. Waterproof, latex, all those. You can make an airtight seal with those.
Yeah, there's I think Princess Auto in Canada here sells the 120 millimeter ammo cans, so the big giant ones. Because I got 5 of them before off them. It's like $15 a piece. They're actually cheaper than the small ammo cans, which is kind of funny.
Yeah.
But they also weigh like 20 pounds each.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. So other than that, I was gonna say there, in order to keep your food from spoiling, of course, you want to keep it a steady temperature area. One other thing we ran into today, we were doing some inventory. All sorts of stuff has a bunch of oil in it, like mostly seed oils, right? So chips, crackers, lard, is an animal oil, obviously. Animal feed, nuts, coffee, everything. And it's got oil on it. It's gonna it's gonna go rancid if it's been sitting there too long. So the problem is if you're using like 6 bags of coffee a year and it goes bad after a year, you want to keep it within a time frame that's not going to go bad before you use it all. But I didn't realize this, but I learned today that brown rice has a oil on the husk as well that kind of goes bad.
Oh, I didn't know that either.
Huh,
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so I guess that's why people prefer to store white rice, because the brown rice will actually go rancid fast, and then whereas the white rice can stay for obviously years with a oxygen absorber or whatever. So that's kind of a good thing to know. Same thing with the wheat. If you have the wheat berries, they'll last longer than if you grind them up. And then I guess because it mixes some other stuff into it. I don't know. It's discovered today anyway. Bursting cans. Yeah, we talked about on the storage shelf. You got the rusty cans, you got the bursting cans. You got to keep an eye out for. There's no sense spending money on stuff if it sits the back of the cabinet there for 20 years, and then all of a sudden you got like a big mess there.
Yeah, nobody likes dealing with that.
I for like cans and stuff like that. I mean, I'm at the point. I don't really, if there's something I don't have and I need, I'll just go and buy what I need. Things that I'll eat more of, I'll keep, a bunch of cans on hand, but it's the old rotation story, right? You just bought the new can, it goes to the back, and the oldest one is the next one you eat. And usually by the time I get through them, it's well before the expiry date, and I'm not getting bursting cans, or they've sat there for a long time and they start to rust and all that stuff. And so, yeah, just rotate your stock. I mean, you say that a lot, but
oh yeah. Do you guys have a rule of thumb for your cans of meat, like whether it be like wild meat that you've done yourself or anything else? Like, do you keep it just a year? Or do you think it's good for 2, or what's your rule of thumb?
I'm still not quite past the getting botulism thing from canned meat. So I've been experimenting with canning stuff myself, and it's good. And I usually eat it within a month or so, and I haven't had a problem, but I'm leery of letting it go a lot longer than that. Just, I got to get past that mental block. So
nobody wants it, right? Like it's not a mental block, it's a worry, right? Like until you get comfortable with the process you did, if you boiled it and did this with the amount of pressure for the proper amount of time, you shouldn't have any issues. It's just getting past that. If you do all the steps and it's done properly, right? And the seal doesn't crack, you're fine. But it's still like that worry. Like I haven't even tried canned meat because I'm just like, yeah, it's weird. Like, don't get me wrong. I know it's a good thing, but I'm like, it seems weird. Like, so I haven't even tried it. So,
yeah.
We actually had canned butter that was 3 years old, and it was still good. We were surprised. We didn't think we opened it up, and it was like, nope, still good. That we'd done it ourselves and everything else. But honestly, it depends. Like had some wild bear that went, I think it was 2 years plus, and we just fed it to the dogs, and they were okay. And after another 6 months, we're like, oh, I'll feed those to the chickens. I don't like the chickens nearly as much as I like the dogs, so I was like, okay, well, we better let them have some. So
yeah.
Anyway, but hey, so you were talking just pre-show cigars. Is there like the humidor? Do they have to keep it between a certain temperature and humidity level, or how does that work?
Yeah. So well, as you saw probably at the beginning of the show. So yeah, cigars. So there's many different ways of doing it. Humidors. Few different ways you can do distilled water. They've got solutions that you put in this little tray, and it keeps little boxes, fridges, whatever you want. You can pretty much, depending how many you have, you can do Ziplocs with, I think they're called Bovita packs. They're humidity controlled packs. You just throw them in a Ziploc, something that's airtight, get most of the air out with those things, and they stay fresh. And yeah, they like to be between like 60 and 70 or 65, 75 humidity and about the same temperature, about 69 to 70 or 65 to 70. I have mine. I had a few that were a little dry and they're starting to come back and everything. So yeah, I mean, if it's something you like to have, it's a very, very easy way to store, and you can get some nice ones that look nice, and it's a nice talking piece.
I mean, just
Yes, for the finer side of prepping.
Yes,
with the cigars.
Just because it's the apocalypse doesn't mean you can't be classy, right? I mean, you can.
Exactly. You guys got to relax, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's like a high class barter item or something.
Well, it's a high class barter item, and we always keep telling people, right? Like, hey, don't forget about yourself. Those little things in life. I'm not saying you got to have 1,000 cigars in your house, but if from time to time you like a cigar and it's been a stressful week and whatever, and you've got time and you want to kick back for half hour, 45 minutes, like, you can't go to the store and get one. So if it's something you enjoy from time to time, or it can be a fantastic barter item, because people will do crazy stuff if they run out of their own.
That is true. I think
so in the live chat there, Justin just said follow a recipe and I'll be fine. And I have. He says they've done beef, sausage, and chicken. I've done the beef. I've done the sausage. Chicken's next on the list. That's the one that just kind of makes me a little more nervous than the other two. But I think I'll be fine if I'm doing it right, which I'm following the recipes and I'm making sure that I have the right temperatures and I have the right time. And when I'm done, things have cooled off. Take the rings off. Make sure the seals are still there. All that stuff. But yeah, He's right too. You'll know. He'll tell you if something went wrong.
Generally, yeah, but you never know. Like, I mean, the botulism, maybe not. Depends if somebody covers it with
Yeah.
spice and feeds it to you anyways. You never know, right? Um, Actually, Mel brings up a really good point. You can do the same with cannabis as well. You need to give that 62% humidity. But actually, again, actually a good barter item when you think about it. But
Yeah.
painkiller, relaxer, the
Yep.
whole works. But
So
uh,
I don't know if you can see the Bovita packs,
yeah,
the
okay.
two-way humidity controls. Buy it on my Amazon. You can buy them at local stores. They come on a bunch of different ranges. These are good if you want to keep like your brown sugar, your flour. You can throw them in the jars. You technically, whenever they get like right now, they're kind of like a liquid inside, and when they get rock hard, chuck them out. Buy new ones. If you ever don't need it, put it in an airtight Ziploc. It stays as long as it's still a little mushy. It'll do. So this will put humidity in as well as take humidity out and keep it around that 60. Well, this one's 69%. I use that for my cigars, but 62 is ideal, and they've got a bunch of different sizes. So depending if you've got a big jar or a small jar, they've got a bunch of different sizes, and they've got all the recommendations for it. Very inexpensive. I think this small one was, I think, $2.
But I mean, considering the amount of money you have to spend on cigars, preserving what you have is the name of the show,
Yep.
right? So I mean, like,
But
yeah, it makes sense
yeah.
totally.
Yeah, so
So
this one was specifically for cigars, but I'm just saying, like, you can keep it for rice, you can keep it for flour. If you do the cannabis thing and you want to keep some, or you just have a green thumb and you enjoy doing whatever, even though you don't use it, you can store it with those, vacuum seal it, and it become a big barter item at some point. So
yeah, and oh, sorry, wrong one. Mel mentions you can't smell botulism, but I don't know, never had it myself, but
yeah,
you never
that's
know.
a scary thing. That's a scary thing with that.
Yeah. So
And
long story short,
she also says freeze drying is safer. That's true if you have money you want to toss away. I know they're what $4,000 or $5,000 to get a freeze dryer, so
And that's
they're
not
nice
even
to
then.
have. Believe me,
Right.
I would love to have one, but it's just not in the budget right now. So
No.
yeah, some of
Yeah.
those are big units too. Those freeze dryers, right? They can take up a lot of
Mhm.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I mean, they even they can take quite a bit of time too. Like, how much does it do to how much time does it take? Sorry, to like freeze dry like chicken breasts. Even if you cut it up, like it's a process. It's not as quick as canning, right? Like canning.
no, oh no,
Like
absolutely not.
how long was your canning process? For the sausages and everything you did once you got everything going at the right settings. It's what?
70 minutes.
Okay, so little over an hour, where I'm pretty sure these freeze dryers are safer, but I think some of the time are like 12 hours.
Or
So
longer, yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yep.
it's safer, but I mean, when you buy it, it's not going to be quick. It's going to be a lot of time and everything, and yeah, they can be anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000. So it's a big investment if you do that.
Cool.
Yep.
Well, long story short, so rotation and inventory is a mandatory thing for prepping to preserve your investment. Next topic: guns and ammo.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, almost as hard on your guns as politicians as rust, especially
Oh,
in Canada.
yeah, especially for us.
Yeah.
Yeah. And again, I feel sorry for you poor bastards.
Well,
All right,
you know,
we'll be the 51st state soon, hopefully.
yeah, or at least part of Canada will be separating before you know it. Depends
Yeah.
which one goes first, but anyways, yeah. Long story short, yeah, rust is a problem with and
Yes.
it does not have to be just rust. It could be anything, like just not maintaining your stuff either. But generally, you want to keep the stuff cool and dry, sealed from air if you can. So there's a reason that the communists sent all their ammunition around in spam cans, right? Like keeps the air and the water out. That's why we swear by our ammo cans as well. Let's see here. What else can we talk about? Well, we're not getting new handguns for the foreseeable future in Canada, so you guys want to preserve what you have. That's definitely a thing. But functionality. So yeah, in order to keep your firearms functioning properly, I guess you want to keep them, obviously rust free with a cleaning regime, even while they're in storage. I don't know about you guys, but there's the odd boomstick sitting in the back of the closet there that hasn't been touched in months/years. So
Yeah.
have you ever pulled those out and discovered a few new little frosty spots and the inside of the barrel's kind of a problem and everything else?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I pulled up-
One of the good things about minor rust on guns is usually you can take a little bit of quad aught wool, as long as like the bluing's not totally gone on it, and just do a little scrubby, and the rust comes off, the bluing stays behind, and you're ready to go again. Now, that's not to say that if you leave it in the back of your closet for 12 years and you pull it out and it's covered in rust, then you're pretty much SOL. But for the tiny surface rust, that works great.
Well, yeah, no, for sure. I mean, I mentioned the steel wool and the oil for sure. That's one way. Like you said, if it's covered in rust, you can try the electrolysis thing, like I did recently here, which basically just involves like shoving in water, positive end for the part that you want to sacrifice, like the steel chunk that you leave in there. Put your part that you want to keep on the negative end. Just hook up like a wall wart from a computer power supply or anything else on either side, and a little bit of not baking soda, but washing soda in the water, and before you know it, everything's bubbling and derusting after a couple hours, and it's good to go. Actually,
how did that work out for you?
Really well, actually. So I had a Mauser magazine well, and I threw it in there because the inside of the magazine well was rusty, and I couldn't quite get to a lot of the parts. So I just like wrapped a wire around the. I cut a couple pieces of rebar, attached the positive lead to one rebar, stuck it in the water. And wrapped a piece of wire between the rebar and the magazine well, attached the negative end, left it on there, and it starts bubbling right away, and it's giving off like a hydrogen and oxygen you can see. So of course you don't want to be smoking over top of it, I suppose. But it's, but yeah, no, I mean it's small amounts of just tiny little microscopic bubbles coming off, right? But then like 2 hours later, I pulled it out, and rust basically was there, but you just take a cloth and wipe it off, and it just disappears. So it's pretty cool that way. But of course, if you leave it, then it's going to re-rust right away. So you got to make sure you either oil it or re-blue it or do something with it after you pull it out of there, right? But that was really cool. So like I just actually pulled out my grandpa's 22 here out of the closet about a week and a half ago, and the inside of the barrel had actually got like a little bit of surface stuff going on. But yeah, I just run some steel wool on the outside, and then run just a cleaning brush on the inside. Yeah, it's all good again. Just got to keep on top of that stuff though. And then the other thing I was going to say, because the last thing that we don't have that's banned that's not banned in Canada is the SKS, and of course it uses corrosive ammo. So a lot of people don't take care of their weapons well enough, and yeah, I mean if they leave that corrosive salts in there after they've gone shooting, then before you know it, they've got a rusty barrel, and there goes their preps, right?
Yeah, especially with the SKS, and that's Scott's asking, what is bluing?
Oh, bluing is basically a controlled rust. So it looks black, but it's called bluing, and it's the outside surface treatment on a firearm that basically prevents. It's the type of rust that you want because it actually prevents other rust from forming generally. And then nothing's perfect, but what it is, it creates an even finish that's somewhat rust resistant as long as you take care of it and keep it in oil and everything else, like or keep an oil coat on it and everything else. But it looks better than rust.
Yeah, so it's pretty much every gun you have that's not stainless steel has got some sort of bluing on it.
Exactly, unless it's been Parkerized or Cerakoted or something like that. So yeah, there's million different kind of covers you can put on it. The main difference between the different kinds of oxide, black oxide keeps everything else out, and that's the one you want, and orange oxide is the thing that forms on vehicles and steel and everything else. And that's the one that will absolutely eat the crap out of everything. So there's different oxides. There's good oxides and bad oxides. So,
and probably 90% of guns out there have bluing on them generally, unless there's some sort of a higher end or custom job or something that you've tinkered with yourself or whatever, right?
Yeah, so. If you bought anything under $1,000, it's not Cerakoted. It's not anything else. If it's not stainless steel at that point, it's blued steel.
Yeah.
Right.
Not to be confused with blue steel from Zoolander, right?
Yeah, that's a look.
That's a look.
And before we move on real quick, I have one more little thing to add to springboard off of the guns. if you do have a gun that you do not shoot a lot, like grandpa's shotgun or rifle or something like that, if it sits with the buttstock down for a year, flip it upside down and put the muzzle down, because the natural oils or the oils that somebody has added through the years will migrate down through the stock, especially on older guns, and that stock will start to punk out because it's sat on the stock on the butt plate its whole entire life, straight up and down. That oil will migrate through there, and those old stocks will punk out. So if you want to keep that oil level from going down through the wood, 1 year up, 1 year down. And that helps with wood preservation.
Especially if you oil the crap out of your firearms and you have a bunch of excess oil
Yep.
in the receiver, and you leave it up, and it's going to go right where that wood meets the back end of the receiver.
Yep.
It's going to just become mush before you know it. So
yep,
that's
exactly.
Very good point. Same thing with the ammo, though. More importantly, is got to keep taking care of your ammo. So tarnished ammo, so whether it be just excessive moisture or dirt on it or whatever, can lead to feeding issues, primer failures, extreme moisture. It's pretty well sealed, but it could get some powder caking inside if you get a little bit of moisture in the powder. Hence, keep your powder dry type of thing. That is a problem too. Anybody that stores their ammo down in the basement, whether it be flooding or just basement moisture or whatever, that can be another problem. Where the spam cans or ammo cans would really come in handy to preserve your stuff, right?
Even if it's the plastic ones, I have plastic ones that come on a carry tray, but they have a seal on it. They're fairly airtight. Still crack them open, shake the rounds around, make sure there's no clumps in them. When we can't, well, half of them I can't use right now, but that's beside the point. But or at least not for now.
Yeah. Definitely. Whether it's plastic or steel, when they come in the cardboard boxes and stuff like that, it doesn't. I don't care what environment. I've got everything in cans. Just by the off chance, you might have the most temperature controlled, perfect room in a basement or upstairs. Perfect humidity, perfect temperature. Just put it in there so that way it's just by off chance. There's something happens like that. I'm afraid where I store everything here in the bunker, everything's sealed up just in case of water or humidity, just like what Ian said. And there was another point I was going to make. If you do get bulk ammo and it is in spam cans and that spam can is in good shape and you don't need to use that ammo right now, leave it in the spam can. If it ain't got no rust holes or anything in it, it's been vacuum sealed. It's sitting there ready to go whenever you need it. I know it's kind of tempting, like, but I want to look at it. No. If you don't need to use it, then just leave it in the spam can, because more often than not, it's sealed up, it's vacuum tight, because I've had several cans of the Yugoslav or the even straight up Russian of the 7.62 by 54R and some of the 39 that I've got sitting there, that the paint and everything's still in good shape from the 60s and the 70s with no holes or anything in it, and just leave it alone. It's doing good, sitting right there.
If it's been for 50 years, it'll be good for another 5 for sure, right?
So, yep, exactly.
So I did a quick Google search. Around 50% humidity level is ideal for storing ammunition. So you can buy 50% of those Bovita packs I was talking about earlier. So you can buy those packs if you're worried about very high humidity or very dry, and you want to keep those levels. You would be able to buy those and throw them in there. They've got lots of different options for keeping humidity at whatever levels. So take that as you will. I've never done it. But just, if you're very worried about somewhere where it's too humid or it's too dry, because those can hamper everything. Do your research, ask people. But you can buy humidity packs to keep it at a certain temperature and keep it in a sealed container. And that would actually help for a very low amount compared to how much ammo costs.
Yeah, it's true. I just use silica gel packs or whatever, and vacuum seal a lot of the ammo, or throw it in cans or whatever, depending on what I'm dealing with. But either way, because here it's just excess moisture more than anything else. But
Yeah, and that's the same problem I run into. With the bunker, it's not as bad since everything is foamed and everything. Mine was one of those Lego built ones with the foam on the inside and the outside, and it actually does. It doesn't get very humid down here, which really surprised me on the way my bunker was built. Um, but so yeah, about 9 times out of 10, I'm running silica and everything, just throwing a pack in there with everything, and everything seemed pretty good. I've had some ammo that was 5 years old and ammo cans, 9mm specifically, and pulled it out, shot it, no problem. So storage, if you want to keep bulk on hand, that's key. Storage, if you want to keep it good.
cool. Tools. You touched on that last week, I think, Pat, and then also I was talking about that today. Like rusted
Mhm.
ones, they will break, they won't adjust, they can become a real pain in the ass. Usually when you buy a shovel nowadays from the store, they come with that thin layer of polyurethane or whatever on it. I made the mistake of leaving that stuff on there, and then before you know it, it's fine. Then all of a sudden there'll be a big giant crack in the wood, and then it's kind of useless. So I've kind of learned now to sand that stuff off, put on linseed oil, and actually take care of it over time, and it lasts like way longer. I don't know what you do for tool preservation or whatever, but it's amazing how much those handles are starting to cost now for it to replace them, right?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. And I just got done replacing a axe handle on a mini fire axe. It's not a full size fireman's axe, but it's a miniature one. And I wound up having to replace the handle on it because when I first started using it, I used it to break open uh, ponds and waterers for my cattle. And what happened was water got in through the top of the head of the axe and started soaking in, even though I was bringing it into the pickup and letting it warm up on the floorboards and everything with the heat and everything on it. It still soaked that up, and it eventually rotted the inside of that axe handle. And I had to replace an axe handle this year. And I've always linseeded the outside of it, but that was one thing I never thought about the top, and I don't know why. But yeah, if wood, linseed oil, especially if you're in a high moisture deal like what I'm doing with ice and breaking stuff open with it. So yeah, it's a definite must. For sure.
Well, I guess I found that out by watching a couple other videos too. Is the end grain is like actually the most critical part, right? So when you're first linseed oiling them, and you do the handle a bunch of times, but you actually have to do the end grain, and it'll soak in an amazingly large amount of oil too, right?
Oh yeah, it zaps it. Zaps it.
So yeah, that's definitely a good way to go for sure. And linseed oil is cheap still, surprisingly. So like one can will last you forever too. I don't know how many tools I've done with one can here. That way more than I thought I would. So
Yeah. Anything metal, honestly, any oil, used motor oil, new oil. I mean, obviously, you'd be better off buying almost like a WD-40. I mean, not really WD-40. That's a little on the slick side, but putting any type of oil on any open metal will prevent rust. I mean, you'll have to clean it off if you need it, but to preserve stuff, especially if it's not a thing you use every day, something you've just got in the shop and you're not going to be in the shop because it's winter, getting some good oil soaked on all the metal parts or whatever, and then a nice clean when you need it. Bring it up back into temperature, clean it off, do what you got to do, and then re-oil it before you put it away.
well, Melissa says, "What about KY?" No.
Mm.
Anyway, because that's water based. Mel, come on now.
That's for a different kind of tool.
Yeah, that's for a different tool. Yes, and it is water based. That's not going to help. What I was doing actually is I would go into the discount, not even a dollar store, but like a discount tool store, kind of like a Princess Auto or a Harbor Freight or whatever. But usually they got the ugly paints on sale for like $3.99 a can or whatever, and it's like fluorescent green and baby blue and all this other stuff. So instead of oiling all these tools, 3-in-1 oil, that'll work too.
Yep.
But yeah, I was just spray bombing the tools when I had kids and didn't have a whole lot of time to play with the preservation game. So I was just spray bombing them. But I was walking around with these god awful ugly tools all the time, like the most hideous colors. But at least they weren't rusty. So
yeah, right. And I mean, if there is rust, a little bit of oil, steel wool. I mean, brass brush, get the rust off. If you're not repainting it or spray painting it fluorescent orange or pink or purple, yeah, just getting some oil on it whenever you're not using it somewhere where it's going to sit and save you the hassle of when you actually need it and having to sit there and try and knock all the rust off. Definitely a good idea.
Right on. I just found out the hard way last year because normally I have it inside the house, but yeah, paint can't freeze, or else you have oatmeal next spring. So I had some out in my shed and had a couple of days where it just got a little bit too cold. It went down like -10 or whatever, and yeah, that's an expensive lesson, especially if you spend a bunch of money on house paint and stuff. Um, yeah, start preserving what you have. You should either throw it on what you're supposed to paint or take it inside for the wintertime.
Yeah, definitely don't want that to freeze because
Yeah.
it's not that great. Yeah, it does not spread well after that.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I was shocked actually just how I thought it was like, oh, okay, there might be a couple chunkies or whatever. And nope, it was just like pure oatmeal. Did not work at all. So,
And no,
No.
you can't shake that stuff enough to dislodge. all of
No.
that. It
It was
just turns to crud. Is just
yeah. And
what it
Yeah,
turns
no,
to.
I
Yeah.
took it into the paint people. They're like, yeah. I was like, is there anything I can do with this? Like paint thinner or anything? I was like, are you serious? Like,
By the way, if 46 watching sponsorship.
what's she doing?
Well, I ran out of a drink earlier and it was already out here, so she came out and like pointed and said, "Can I have that?" And I was like, "Oh, sweet, it's sitting next to me." So I poured myself another drink. Now she's leaving me alone.
All right, fair enough.
Sponsorship from 43.
I was like, "Oh, sweet, it's right there." Sorry.
Yeah, no worries. I was gonna say evaporation for preserving what you have. Yeah, acetone, of course. Like leave the lid off for on a lid of acetone or on a bottle of acetone, and the next morning you don't have any left, of course. But the new gas cans from the States, especially, Pat. Ever since the government got involved with designing gas cans, it just seems that if you have a jerry can full of gas in there for more than a few months, it's like you've got a third of a jerry can missing after a couple months, right? Like they do not seal those things at all.
We had a perfectly good gas can, and then they had to mess with the nozzles and everything, and it just whoever invented half of these new gas can nozzles, I want to smack them.
Yes.
Well, and not just that, but like the little tiny vent at the back that used to be able to screw tight and seal off. Now you can't actually screw it tight. It actually because it's so
Yep,
been,
it's
like
got the click thing, and you can't screw
Yeah.
it down. It just kind of wobbles on there, and it's like, come on, guys, if you don't know how to run a gas can, then just hand me your damn man card and get the hell out of here.
Well, yeah, 'cause they're trying to prevent overpressure or something. In reality, they're actually being environmentally unfriendly because they're causing a waste of gas. But
Right?
I don't know, freaking government, I tell you, they screw
Uh,
everything up.
So Scott asked a quick question. What does bad gas look like? I would say it looks more like a Varathane. It's got that yellowy tinge to it.
Yep.
I mean, if you've used mixed gas, obviously you're not going to be able to tell. But if
Yep.
it's regular gas, it's going to have and that's the old comment or adage that old gas causes varnish in your carburetors and stuff like that. That's where it comes from. It almost, looks like Varathane.
Yeah,
So-
it literally smells like deck stain or varnish when it goes rancid.
Yeah, and basically I've been mixing some of that. If you get bad gas, I'll just mix it with some good gas and try and use it up in a large vehicle, but nothing that's a small engine, that's for sure.
Yeah, I've done
And-
that many times in the truck. Job site, someone's mixed some stuff, and it's like, okay, I'll put 10 liters of that, and then 100 liters of fresh on top of it, and it'll be good in a V8, but I wouldn't do that to a generator.
No.
No.
And it's hard to describe, but there's a different feel to the gas. Like we've all had gas on our hands; it kind of feels a little slick, and cold.
Yeah.
I find old gas kind of has like this
Greasy?
weird,
Yeah.
like weird slime almost to it.
Yeah,
And it doesn't stick. Like it's very faint and it doesn't last long. I mean, if you've got a small jerry can or one that's doesn't seal well, or you've got no use for it, put a liter of gas in it, or put 2 cups of gas in it, and leave it in the shed with nothing, for a little bit, and then feel it in a few months, and you'll see that it slowly starts deteriorating. You'll start realizing that smell. I find that's a good idea for everybody to learn, because now if you ever find a jerry can or you're unsure of your own gas or something, you can start getting the signs for it about what the gas feels like, what it smells like, the difference in color, all that stuff. it's fairly universal unless you're getting like racing gas that's already pink and stuff like that. But yeah, it wouldn't be bad to do.
Yeah. I'll dovetail off of that just a little bit here. And as far as storage and keeping your fuel good, never, ever, ever, under any circumstance, store your fuel in a clear container, period. Because if that sits out in the sun for more than 4 to 5 hours, it literally evaporates. There's a special molecule in there. It starts with a T. I can't pronounce it right offhand, but the sunlight deteriorates it. And that is a knock additive in there. And it will kill that. And it's gone. And if you put that fuel in an engine, it will literally detonate. Because I've seen that happen on race cars. I've seen that happen on regular cars, four-wheelers, and stuff like that. Well, what are you storing it in? And they left it out in the sun.
Yeah.
And it literally evaporates. There's one molecule that's very crucial for anti-knock in there, and it's gone. Because the sun's rays went through there and killed it.
Clint mentions, is it good to take a haul off your gas cans at least once a day?
I mean, it'll keep it consistent. You'll really start noticing when that buzz keeps going down. You probably gotta put that in the truck and get a fresh batch. My opinion.
Anyway, you touched on this actually with the wood stocks, but firewood, another thing that actually people don't really think of that can actually fall apart on you as well. I have 2 different woodshed kind of systems going, and I left one set of wood better part of 3 years, and that seems to be what the max for me for the moisture level around here. So the stuff at the very, very back of the pile that was like exposed on one side to just the outside air, it's pretty much too punky to use now. So it's if you don't rotate your firewood too, that's a problem. So you actually have to, like, you have that 1 year wait where you have to get it to dry out, and at the end of the 3 years, it's kind of too punky to use. So you got to kind of have a window there too, it seems. Unless you live in a really dry area.
That's how I've done mine for probably about the last 4 years. Is the wood that I did this year and that I stored this year is for next winter. So what I burn this winter, I'll replenish it, and that will be for the winter 2 years from now. So I'm always a year ahead. And then that also, even though it's maybe only been drying for a year, it gives me some kind of a bit of a backup if it's a really, really bad winter and I burn through the wood that I have. It's not that I don't have anything left or it's piled under 2 feet of snow and it's wet and it's whatever. It's at least something that's dried for a while, and it's not going to be the best, but I can make it work.
Yeah, and I mean, I solved all this. Just douse it in linseed oil, like you guys do with everything else. It'll burn, right?
Yeah, and I mean, it's extra oil. I should just put linseed oil on rags and then leave it on top of the wood.
Yeah, leave it on top and tuck it up in the corner. Yeah,
that'd be fine. Just make sure you really ball it up and put it underneath a couple pieces of wood, and then it's fine. It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah,
it's fine.
It'll work like an absorb. It'll aerate everything for it.
It's fine.
Don't
fine.
do that.
and definitely cook your burgers over it.
Yeah,
it'll be good.
Actually, if people don't know what we're talking about, definitely take a look at what happens if you take linseed oil rags and put them in a shop garbage can and just let them sit there for a couple hours. It's amazing what will happen. So,
yeah, we are totally joking. People, do not do that.
Do not. I hold no responsibility for any comments made on tonight's
right. But around here, as far as firewood, I kind of do what Jeff and y'all do. I can keep it about 3 to 4 years. Most of mine is I've built little sheds and stuff where I can rotate in and out on that. But if you don't have a shed or anything like that, a tarp works just fine. When you get into a rainy or wet season or anything like that during the snow and everything, cover it up. Just a cheap tarp from Walmart or Canadian Tire, what have you. Tractor Supply, doesn't matter. Get it covered up, and then like during the summer when you get into a dry stretch, take it off, let it breathe, let it dry back out, because it will naturally pull moisture and everything in, even if it's completely covered up, and just let it breathe. So Yeah.
I know we
You're
haven't-
muted, Jeff. You're muted.
Yeah, sorry, I'm watching that other channel too. I kind of do that with some of my piles, but I don't totally tarp it. I put the tarp over the top and I'll put like 4 pegs on a corner because you really, if you want it to dry, the best thing is airflow and get
Yep.
that airflow through it. If you cut off the airflow, it's not gonna dry.
Yeah, it's gonna build.
Yeah, especially around here, like if of course, waiting for like enough days in a row to cover it up, even to begin with, it's always wet, right? So you got to make sure you have some airflow going sideways, like Jeff was saying.
So I know we haven't mentioned this specifically tonight, but we have many times before. Don't leave the wood just on the ground. Having it or airflow under all the wood is the best way to do whatever. Because if not, it's just going to soak up all that groundwater, especially if it's raining. Build a little frame, get some skids, get something, get airflow
Pallets.
under. Yeah, pallets.
Yeah.
Get some airflow under it. Just
Perfect.
in case it's the first time someone hears this and they just put a bunch of wood in the back and they're like, it doesn't work. Like, yeah, you got to get the airflow under it. You want to try and get that, get it off that moisture barrier on the ground. It's going to get moisture no matter what with all the dew and everything, but yeah, definitely off the ground is ideal.
Absolutely. Good catch there, Pierre. You're right. No, Melissa, I did not get put in timeout.
Yep.
Nice try though.
All right, so next thing, batteries. So we all have battery-powered items, UV5Rs,
Yes.
flashlights, everything else. How many times you guys had batteries explode on the inside of the flashlight and leave it kind of useless?
Good wire brush and some good cleaner has saved me a few. But yeah, it's one of those things. Like I have a flashlight at work, and it fits in my breast pocket for when I need to see stuff and all that. And it's good. And I kind of got a tear on the push button. Didn't think much of it. And then it was raining. And now it still works, but I can't get the cap off to replace the batteries. So I'm going to have to figure that one out or buy a new one. So yeah, it's one of those things we never think of.
I have a conspiracy theory, actually. If I was buying bulk Duracells at Costco, and those things pretty much 100% leak after about 8 months in storage, ruining not just the flashlights, but just also the investment in the batteries. I was getting kind of pissed off. So transitioned over to the Kirkland brand, and it turns out the Kirkland brand is made by Energizer, and they never leak. Which
The Kirkland brands are actually very on par with
I was
storage and
shocked.
power and everything. Yes,
Yeah,
they are
so
very
100% Kirkland. No more Duracell for me, anyways, because I don't know how many flashlights or whatever I've lost because the Duracell's just piss acid everywhere. And it's kind of pissing me right off, actually.
Duracell. Duracell.
Yeah.
I was gonna say most of those, believe it or not, so I've been finding just kind of nosing around and stuff. Most of the no-name stuff is actually manufactured by a named company, and then they just slap a no-name on it, but it's built by the same or manufactured in the same plant by the same people that make the name brand.
Yeah, just to mention, Energizer lithiums don't leak, but yeah, I mean, like I said, the Kirkland brand I think is Energizer basic brand as well, so they just branded as Kirkland, right? So anyway, so yeah, it's a problem. Anyways, I was gonna say if people want to preserve what they have for long term and they don't want to sit there and babysit batteries, I suppose they just leave them empty for the long term. If you've got a bunch of extra flashlights or whatever, no sense leaving batteries in them. Also applies to rifle sight. If you have a red dot or like a lighted reticle or whatever, if you're not going to be sitting there using that rifle for a couple of years, whatever, pull the battery out. Even if it's button battery. Button batteries generally don't leak, but you never know.
Yeah. If it's not something you're going to use, disconnect the battery from whatever, take it out, including radios, your power packs, put it on a rotation. We have 4 or 5 different battery packs, 20,000 milliamp, 10,000 milliamps, charge your phones, whatever you need. We've got some flashlights we can charge, put them on different rotations where, say, every 3 weeks, set a reminder. Take charger one. Everybody charge their phones with it overnight and that. Kill it completely. recharge it, and then 2-3 weeks later take charger number 2, and we do the same thing. I plug everything in, plug the tablet in, as many cords as you can put on it, drain that sucker to nothing, and then recharge it, because they can leak, they don't hold charges nicely. So yeah, put them on a different rotation, different cables on it, and not all at once, because then if the power goes out while they're charging, you're completely screwed. But yeah, just in a little rotation, every 2-3 weeks. If you've got 4 of them, if you do it every 3 weeks, right, you end up like 2 months before you got to do all of them again. So it keeps that battery nicely charged and useful when you need it.
Yeah,
Also-
and those batteries will hold a memory if they stay there too long. If you let it sit partially dead, then guess what? That battery is not coming back up. So that's why batteries are an expendable item. So especially if they're rechargeable, just like Pierre said, throw them in a rotation and get the use out of them. Because if you just let them sit there full or let them sit there dead, that's not good on batteries. It's just not.
I bought. It was on sale. I'm not pushing them or promoting them. I bought a couple DeWalt battery operated. I got an impact driver and I can't remember what else I got. But anyways, the salesman told me that when you're not using the battery, don't just put it in the charger and leave it, because he said that will cause, as you said, probably Pat, probably what he's getting at is it'll get that memory. He said, charge it up. And he said, just take it off the charger. If you're not using it, he said, just take it off the charger, set it beside it or do whatever, but don't leave it on the charger.
Yeah.
And I mean, if it's something you're going to use and rely on, I rarely ever leave my batteries on the chargers. I may forget about it for like 20 minutes or whatever, but I never go to bed and leave them on there. If it's something that you need and you might, need a quick charge here and there or whatever, look into the investment of those rapid chargers. I have Milwaukee. I was lucky and fortunate to get a rapid charger for a very, very, very good price. And a battery that used to take 2.5 hours to charge now charges in like 35 minutes. So, it was $100 compared to like $40 for the regular one. So I did, I use it for work. I can go through 3 batteries in a day, and then I can not use it for 3 weeks. So it's that variance of, I let my batteries die, try and keep them out of the crazy cold, and yeah, take them out, bring them in, and let them die. And yeah, if it's something that you might need a charge fairly quick, I think like the small 2.5 amp batteries, I think they charge in less than 15 minutes on the rapid chargers, where it's like 45 to an hour on the regular ones. So if you're worried about, I need battery power now, look into getting a rapid charger compared to leaving it on, like Jeff was saying, because yeah, you'll pooch your batteries real fast.
Do you guys ever notice that
Yeah.
as soon as you hit puberty as males, like you kind of get, it's like Harry Potter, you get the sorting hat that decides if you're going to be like in one of 4 houses, and it's either like DeWalt, Makita, Ryobi, or Milwaukee. It's like there's only like 4 choices, and you stick with it the rest of your life almost. It seems,
Oh.
right?
No, so I used to be DeWalt, and then I went to Milwaukee after Milwaukee really picked up the game a few years ago, and also because I lost the DeWalt Impact. And I was like, okay, well, I lost the battery and an impact, and it was going to be like $300 to buy just the impact and one battery. And Milwaukee had a kit on for like, I think it was like $180. I was like, well, that seems more efficient. And I'm happy for the transition just because the quality of tools and certain things I do for work that I'm like very beneficial for that brand. But if you don't need it for work, you can't go. I mean, pick whatever you want. I mean, Ryobi, if you're just gonna do stuff, if you're gonna do stuff around the house, build a deck here and there and do little renos. My opinion, you don't need that $500 drill.
No.
If you need it all day, every day, and you're framing houses or doing this or whatever, yeah, you might want to get a bigger thing. Like I have Milwaukee due to work and it being the reliability, the power, portableness, and everything for it. But you can get anything, just whatever works for you. But also Milwaukee's better. So
Yeah. Well, on that note, because you travel a lot for work, anything in your car that it's going to have to be preserved because you've invested in, whether it be food, tools, boomsticks in certain cases, because some people can do that in this podcast. But yeah, no, it's amazing. Like how many episodes we've
Who?
done about? Yeah, exactly.
Who?
How many?
What?
We, just,
How-
we briefly just talked about it, but if you've got a booster pack, you carry on a booster pack. I carry on a booster pack all the time in my truck, and every, I don't know, maybe once a month or whatever, I'll bring it in overnight. Especially if it's been cold, I'll let it warm up. I'll make sure it's got a charge in it, and I'll put it back in the truck for another month. But if you throw it in there and you leave it and you never touch it, the day you really need it, it's not going to work.
And I would even recommend, if you can, to not leave it in the truck when it's cold, because cold really messes with those batteries. Like, and trust me, I'm the worst for it, because the one I have is sitting in my work truck, and the personal one I had to bring in because it was dead out of the personal truck. But especially if you've got those little Norco or Norinco or whatever they're called, they're like the size of your cell phone, right? Like 2-3 times thicker.
Yep.
If you can, dollar store bag. If you've got a DeWalt bag or the Husky bags, like, those little tool bags, keep a few things in there, a bottle of water, granola bars, your booster cables, phone charger, just that. Something very small you can just grab and leave by the door on top of your boots is way better than leaving those things in your truck. It's a lot easier to leave them in the truck. In the summer and the heat, it's not great for them, but the cold really messes with those booster packs and the longevity of those batteries and the durability of those batteries. Especially when we get those crazy cold months, you can have it charged and leave it outside at -40 for 2 days, and you can't start a snowblower with it.
Right.
But it's very hard to get into that new habit, right? If you've got it out there and everything, but just find a little bag, put, a water bottle, socks, underwear, 2-3 granola bars and that charger in it, and just keep it on top of, your everyday boots or whatever, or where you keep your car keys. Throw your car keys in it now, and then, after 10 minutes of cursing and swearing, you find your keys and you remember to bring it out. Is definitely way better than leaving it out there. And trust me, I need to work on it just as much as everybody else.
Well, because on the other end of the scale, I mean, if you have those Cliff bars or whatever in your get home bag or whatever, and in the back of your car, and it's 100 degrees Fahrenheit out there for 3 weeks, do you really want to eat that Cliff bar afterwards?
I'd prefer doing that compared to trying to eat it at -40 for 3 days.
Well, at least if you stay fresh,
Yeah.
I suppose. But yeah, anyways.
Yeah, but it'll break a few teeth.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. Yeah, that's about it. I always keep extra clothes, socks this time of year, an extra pair of socks or two. Few bags, just in case I somehow get water inside my boots. Those contraband one-time use plastic bags that you used to be able to get at every store. Keep 2-3 of those. Well, 3-4 I got, or 2 to 4, sorry. As the even numbers, we got 2 feet. You can change your socks all you want, but if your boots are wet, throw your feet in those bags and then put them in the boots. Still uncomfortable. They're gonna get cold, but they're gonna stay dry.
That is a good way to preserve the feet that you have. Absolutely.
Yeah, you only get one of them. The other ones, the other ones are different and everything. But yeah, just plastic bags, garbage bags. I don't, whatever, Ziplocs, really, if they fit in them. Yeah, I tend to do that. A few bags, extra pair of socks, pair of underwear, roll of toilet paper, because you never know.
Cool. Last thing before we run out of time here. Financial preps as far as preserving what you have, ways to mitigate problems. We actually had a fun little conversation there before the show with a neighbor of mine. Is like if you're gonna go burying stuff in your backyard, just keep in mind that like silver will corrode and tarnish, whereas gold does not. Just a thought if you want to do some midnight gardening or whatever. Also, money and moisture in safes. Like if you actually keep cash at home or in a hidden chamber in somewhere in your house, just keep in mind that between mice and moisture and everything else, you want to make sure you protect that cash you have on hand because it can fall apart as well.
Yep.
Just a thought.
Yep. Yep. Well, and springboard off of that real quick. Important documents, fire
Yeah.
safe. That's preservation because man, if you lose, granted I know everything's electronic now and everything, but if you lose everything in a fire or in a flood or something,
Good luck
it
starting
is
over.
just such a hassle
Oh
because
yeah.
I've been through a fire and it's not any fun, people. So protect and store your legal documents. You'll be glad you did. Just believe me on that. For a guy that's been through it, it sucks.
Yeah, I mean, we're going through that. Mel just changing her last name, right? We got married coming up on 2 years, and we still got to do some of the stuff. And I'm just like, man, we got to find all this paperwork. Like, why do I have to send 9 documents to change, previous last name to new last name? So I could just imagine trying to get everything else. Like, it's a
Oh, it
nightmare.
it sucks.
And
Driver's
I'll-
license, the house deed, everything gone. It sucks.
So we'll go down the proverbial rabbit hole on this one. I went last week and kind of changed a bit of things around with my finances and took out not a substantial amount of cash, but a fair amount. I'm not going to lie, I'm concerned about what is going to happen tomorrow and the threats of Trump slapping a 25% tariff on everything that Canada sends to the US and what it's going to do to our economy. And I just would rather that cash in my pocket than sitting in a bank account that I may or may not be able to access down the road, or that my investment may become a loss instead of a gain. I don't know what's going to go on. And I'm just taking it. I'm taking the dive that I think something's going to happen, and I'm kind of preparing myself for that.
No, fair enough. And I mean, whether it be spreading your cash around with different banks or keeping some on hand, because I mean, like, some bank could go insolvent over the next 5 years, so you never know. If you don't trust it, you can kind of spread your stuff around. Other guys had ideas of keeping prepaid credit cards or bank, gift cards out there, just if you want to stay outside the kind of financial system, just stay within a store system. That's one way to do it. There's all sorts of ways to do it, but cash is king normally. But anyway, yeah,
Agreed.
yeah, a bunch of ways to do it for sure.
No.
Well, guys, should we move on to the podcast challenge, Jeff?
Sure, I got to remember to unmute myself this time. So the podcast challenge is try to inspect any and or all items you have in your long-term storage, see what condition they are in, and bring it back to a proper working condition if it's bad.
Sounds like a scheme. Upcoming events, I'll cover off Terry's stuff. The annual Preppers Meet 2025. Preppers Week is July 7th to 13th. The Slovenian Hunters and Anglers Club in Alliston, Ontario is hosting the Preppers Meet. I will put the Facebook link in the show notes. Weather blurb, Jeff?
Sure. So I guess to sum it up, it's going to be a crazy weather week. Right now, but they're dealing with an East Coast storm, specifically around the I-95 corridor. They're looking at heavy snow for eastern Maine through northern Maryland and Boston area. Once that kind of moves out overnight and into tomorrow, they're going to get, and everybody's going to get this flood of very, very cold air. Possibly the coldest that it's been in years. Temperatures are expected to be 15 to 25 degrees below average, and that's Fahrenheit, not Celsius, but still that's a very cold temperature. Areas that are used to the cold, so the northern climates, Montana, North Dakota, those areas, they still have extreme cold warnings out, and they're going to have dangerous wind chills. So, make sure that if you're out in your vehicle, we've talked about it, you've got a cold weather pack. So, you've got spare gloves, spare toque, spare mitt, dry socks, that kind of stuff. By Tuesday morning, that cold air will be flooding as far south as southern Texas, Louisiana, and even into southwest Mississippi. And they can see sleet or even possibly some snow. Tuesday night into Wednesday morning. There is a possibility, and every time I look at a model or I compare the models, they're more coming into alignment that the panhandle of Florida, southern Georgia, they're going to be into a possibly fairly significant ice storm. So if you live in that area, not trying to fearmonger, but you might want to go out and stock up on some stuff. Make sure you've got, as we say, a minimum of 72 hours of stuff, because it appears that travel is going to be significantly impacted. We may, and that storm and the snow may even wrap around and affect the Carolinas. North and South Carolina could see significant snow out of it later on in the week. So basically what I'm trying to say is it's going to be freaking cold. There's going to be some pretty bad wind chills, and a lot of areas that don't ever see cold weather and ice or snow are going to get it. So just be prepared. I've had a lot of stuff going on the last week. I admit I have not been updating the Discord as I should, but I will be doing the best I can. But it's coming, folks. Don't take this one lightly. I think you're going to be. I think some people are going to be shocked and surprised.
Be frozen iguanas falling out of the trees and alligator sticles.
Yep.
Yep.
100%.
Pretty much.
Right on. Deal of the week. Kind of touched on it briefly, but I got a 40-pack of hand warmers at Costco on sale for $23.99. That's 40 packs of 2, so I guess 80 hand warmers, which actually is good for food storage. If you want to take it instead of an O2 absorber, you can kind of use those. Obviously, in the back of your car, it's good. Everything else, there's multiple uses for them. Whatever, they eat oxygen, which is the important part. So I'll put the link in the show notes as well. See here, shoutouts. I got Milser Baron for the Fountain of Knowledge lately with all my restoration work I've been doing lately. So thanks to him.
Nice.
Yeah, no emails. Anything else, guys?
I don't think so.
Going
Oh,
on?
No.
Don't eat lemon snow cones. They're
That's
probably
true. No, don't
Yeah.
eat yellow snow. Don't piss in the wind. That's always a good idea.
No.
With that note, I will bring episode 259 of the Canadian Prepper Podcast to an end. You can find the audio podcast on iTunes, Spotify, or your favorite podcast app. Please submit a review. It helps the algorithm to promote us, letting other people find the show.
And we do record these shows live on YouTube and Facebook. If you want an early peek at the shows, please subscribe to the YouTube channel, Canadian Prepper Podcast, and click the notifications tab. That will give you an alert when we're going live. If anybody wants to reach out to me and Eric decides to make an appearance and send email to me, it's feedback@prepperpodcast.ca.
He's busy at his NAMBLA fundraising meeting, I think it was today or something like that.
Yeah, or some excuse about sick kids or something, like just
Yeah,
whatever.
come on.
Any excuse,
No. So
Here,
we all see where you guys stand in his hierarchy. You can find me off the wall customizing TikTok apparently for now. I don't know. I think
till next week.
yeah, somewhere. I'm on the Discord, not active very much on this one as well as the other CPP, or you can find me Monday nights potentially with another panelist talking about where we critique the government
talking shit about the government.
Yeah, talk shit about the government.
Yeah,
but yeah,
lots of material this week. So
there's so much.
yeah.
I can't wait.
Oh,
Can't wait.
you got it. You got it. Ask for
Yeah, I need a fresh bottle for tomorrow night, apparently. But yeah, that is YouTube's Monday nights at 9:00 on the other CPP Canadian Patriot podcast.
All right, and well, you can find me as well on YouTube at Pat in a Bunker, just as it's spelled out right there on the letterhead right there. And you can also find me on Facebook at Pat Hirsch. I do some posting over there as well. And if you need to get a hold of me, it is cruisin165@gmail.com. It is CRUIZIN 165. So not the typical spelling. So anyway, that's what I got.
So also a listener did clarify that apparently I didn't say anything that might have caused the explicit button, so I just want to make sure that we fucking hit that.
All
on the
right.
show code.
Fuck it. We're going
Oh,
live.
come on, Pierre. You couldn't just make it through one episode, eh?
Yeah.
Hey,
No.
they asked for it. It's in the comments.
Okay. All
All right.
there.
Well, you can reach Ian directly by emailing me at theislandoftreat@gmail.com. You can also find me with Pierre on Canadian Patriot Podcast, live on YouTube. We record Monday evenings at 9 p.m. Eastern, as well as iTunes. You can join the Discord app for both CPPs, and there you can find us discussing why government waste and the general degradation of society has been using lots of hand warmers, yet somehow my hands are still cold. Anyways, thanks for joining us. Until next time, be prepared, stay safe.
And keep learning.